Okay, think about this for a second. You, or maybe someone you know, needs medication, perhaps during pregnancy or while breastfeeding. You look at the label and what do you see?
Often, not much. Like a real blank space where you'd expect crucial information.
Exactly. It's this huge information gap, and honestly, it's been a pretty serious public health issue for a long time.
It really has. I mean, the numbers are, well, they're quite stark. You look at the EU data, less than 0.4% of clinical trials submitted actually include pregnant people.
Less than 0.5%. Wow.
Yeah. And it gets even lower for breastfeeding individuals, like 0.1%.
And yet, we know most pregnant people do take some kind of medicine, right? And untreated conditions, well, they can cause real problems during pregnancy.
Absolutely. Serious adverse outcomes. And this lack of data, it puts everyone in a really tough spot.
What does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, you're basically guessing, or, your doctor is forced to make these really important treatment decisions without solid evidence.
Like dosage, maybe? Or whether it's safe at all.
Precisely. Or a patient might feel they have to stop a medication they really need. Or maybe stop breastfeeding earlier than planned. It leads to suboptimal care, increased risks.
Okay, so clearly something needed to change. Which brings us to why we're doing this deep dive today. There's this new guideline, the ICH E21, International Council for Harmonization.
That's right, developed with global regulators like the EMA in Europe. And people are calling it a change in paradigm.
A change in paradigm. What does that actually mean, though? How does it shift things?
It flips the default thinking. Historically, the tendency was, well, let's exclude pregnant and breastfeeding people from trials unless there's a super specific reason to include them.
The sort of better safe than sorry approach, but maybe too cautious?
Kind of. But it created this data void. So ICH E21 says, hang on, for products likely to be used by people who could become pregnant, inclusion should actually be considered the default starting point.
That sounds huge, a fundamental shift.
It is. It's moving from automatic exclusion towards, let's say, thoughtful inclusion.
Right. So for anyone listening who's been aware of this gap, this E21 guideline is potentially transformative. Our goal today is really just to break down the main ideas. What are the core recommendations? How do they help get us that solid data for safer decisions? Decisions that affect you.
Yeah, and it's crucial to stress this isn't about throwing caution to the wind. Safety is paramount. Always. For the participant, the fetus, the infant.
Okay.
The guideline lays out really clear conditions for when inclusion is appropriate and, importantly, when it's not.
So what are some of those boundaries? Like if a drug is known to cause harm?
Good question. So for known teratogens, things known to cause birth defects inclusion generally isn't warranted unless, and this is key, the potential benefit to the mother and fetus is judged to significantly outweigh that known risk, and there aren't safer options.
So very careful balancing act.
Exactly. It's about moving forward, but with strong guidelines, robust safety measures, very clear ethical considerations.
Stepping back a bit then, what's the bigger picture goal here for future medical decisions?
Ultimately, it's about getting to a place where decisions for everyone, including pregnant and breastfeeding individuals, rely on actual evidence, not assumptions, not guesswork.
Makes sense.
So the guideline pushes for, careful benefit-risk assessments specifically for this group, collecting pharmacokinetic data, that's PK, how the body handles the drug.
Right, because that changes during pregnancy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Metabolism, distribution, it all changes. So you need data from different trimesters and during lactation too to figure out dosing and safety. And it also highlights the need for longer-term follow-up for both mother and child.
And it's not just about the what, but the how, right? You mentioned involving different experts.
Yes, that's vital. Bringing in obstetricians, neonatologists, lactation specialists,
Right.
Getting that multidisciplinary expertise baked into the trial design from the start.
That seems critical for ensuring the trials are, well, both scientifically sound and incredibly focused on safety.
Totally.
Yeah.
Their input is invaluable. And, thinking about it from the industry side, yes, maybe there are some initial increased costs. You might need to study transfer into breast milk, do extra monitoring.
Right.
But generating this robust data up front could actually save money down the line. It might reduce the need for some of those really expensive post-authorization studies, like pregnancy registries, that often happen reactively.
So, investing wisely at the beginning for better data overall. And for you listening, it's worth knowing this isn't set in stone just yet. The draft guideline is actually open for public comment until September 15th, 2025.
Yeah, so it's still evolving, still getting global input, which leads us to maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
What does a guideline like this really mean for the future of personalized medicine? How do we make sure no patient group gets left behind when we're talking about safe and effective treatments?